The Game Gods is a beautifully crafted short film that is the official selection at the Atlanta Film Festival.
The path to the future, if they have to build it themselves. Welcome to the game.
Using the power of image and sound, it draws a line from the black market economies to the original sin of American capitalism. Here to explain is the film's director, Adrian Burrell. Adrian Burrell, welcome to Black Renaissance. It's so good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
The Game Gods, beautiful, beautiful film. I was really struck by the imagery. As a filmmaker, where did you get those chops?
I honestly get it from storytelling, from being a listener. I grew up, my grandmother had 16 kids. Those 16 kids had 58 had 112, 112 had 158. So I was always listening to stories. And from listening and just traveling the world and being really basically the type of person who wants to know a lot about my family history and where I come from, I started to put a lot of visuals to the stories that I would hear. So naturally, whenever I hear a story, all these images just become like downloaded into my head and these metaphors. And through my film work and through my fine art practice, I try to find ways to explore that imagery.
I've lost everything that I've earned twice. I don't want to lose it again.
And now it's the official selection at the Atlanta Film Festival.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Really proud of you. Now, you've been working with director Peter Nix. What's that like?
I met Pete at the homeroom premiere at the Grand Lake Theater, and meeting him there and then talking to other friends who have been mentored by him, he kind of just really took me under his wing and said, well, you know, let me help you in any way that I can. So it's just been a really generative mentorship and friendship since the start, really. And there's a lot of friends of mine who he works with and who he's been able to help. So I'm kind of happy to be in a part of that camp.
That's beautiful. Game Gods, the Game Gods. You know, when I think of game, I think of Nipsey Hussle, game. You are delving into an entirely different level, weaving our history, the exploitation of black bodies, the American dream, capitalism.
What I wanted to do, growing up in Oakland, my family's been there since 1927. And I went to Marine Corps right out of high school. I traveled the world. I went to Stanford. And so there's all these polarizing ideas and ways of being in the world that I've seen. And there's this way in which the legible indicts the illegible, the legal, quote unquote, and the illegal, and the relationships between those things in terms of commerce, markets, free markets, and the markets that we see every day. And so one of the things I wanted to explore was those relationships between black market economies in the inner city and the history of the American dream, the history of capitalism, how those things are intertwined, how they dance, how they fight, and what gets revealed visually in the process.
I don't think people realize that for centuries we were pushed to the fringe of the economy, and we were forced to create our own alternative economies. Everybody's got an uncle who ran numbers or an auntie who had a boarding house. You know, so when you talk about the black market, there really was a black market.
Exactly. And I think that one thing I wanted to do is I didn't want to make a happy ending. I didn't want to draw a conclusion that was easy to encase and put a value upon. I rather wanted to make something that posed a lot of questions that can be a conversation starter. And I definitely wanted to have an indictment on the ways, and I wanted to make an indictment on the ways in which capitalism has had a unbalanced relationship against my people, and what that looks like today, and what are the afterlives of slavery and the commodification of black bodies.
Well, beautiful, beautiful job. Again, congratulations on official selection at the Atlanta Film Festival. I know we'll be hearing a lot more from you. Thank you so much for joining us on Black Renaissance.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
Take the dice and roll your life.
You can follow Adrian on Instagram. His handle is one.living.